Is Shiner Bock the national beer of the Lone Star State? In this video, we're going to give you some history of this beer, give it a try, let you know what we think.
I'm gonna tell you how it's gonna be.
You want a beer?
Your Shiner Bock.
Are you gonna give your love to me?
That night, a big ass rat. Deep in the heart of Texas.
All right, so the story of Shiner Bock begins in 1909 in the tiny town of Shiner, Texas, halfway between San Antonio and Houston. So in this area, German and Czech settlers were homesick for the malty lagers of the old world. So of course they did what any beer lover would do. They built their own brewery. That brewery was called the Shiner Brewing Association. And their first brewmaster, Herman Weiss, set out to craft something worthy of the homeland. Things weren't great from the jump. In fact, they were pretty rough, right? So beer spoiled, equipment broke, the whole operation nearly folded. Until a Bavarian brewmaster named Kosmos Spoetzl rolled into town. He was a Bavarian-trained brewer who learned the craft both in Egypt and in Germany. So by 1913, Spoetzl had perfected his idea of a dark, smooth, malty beer brewed in the German Bock tradition. Now, quick aside, a Bock beer is typically a hearty, kind of winter-centric German-style lager that's usually a little bit higher in alcohol and pretty malt-forward and robust. So Spoetzl had perfected that style. Then in 1914, he leased the struggling brewery and brought in his own yeast strain and poured all that knowledge and heart and soul into every batch of his Bock. He was a huge favorite amongst the locals and they loved his beer even more. And that beer would become what we now know today as the original Shiner Bock. So at first it was just a seasonal brewed occasionally and for Lent, but the Texans loved it so much that they demanded it be brewed all year round. So like every American beer that's persisted for more than 100 years, Shiner Bock was affected by Prohibition. You know, most American breweries were forced to shut down, others pivoted into other things. Kosmos, the brewer, kept Shiner open by selling near beer, ice, and allegedly, according to a lot of urban legends, actual real kegs rolling out the back door. So when Prohibition finally ended in 1933, Spoetzl was ready. They celebrated with a new beer called Texas Export, marking the state's return to legal brewing. All right, so Cosmo passed away in 1950, and his daughter Cecile, also known as Miss Seeley, took the Spoetzl brewery over. At the time, she was one of the only women to run a brewery in the country. She kept it alive and thriving through decades of change, making Shiner Bock a family legacy. So after a few years of steady growth, by the 1970s, Shiner Bock had outgrown its small batch roots. Texans could not get enough of it. By 1973, it was brewed year-round and became the beer of Texas college towns, barbecue joints, dance halls, you name it. If you're watching this video, you probably have a story about it. Moving forward to 1989, the Gambrinus Company from San Antonio bought the brewery and took Shiner nationwide. And here's the really cool part. Even with all that growth, every drop of Shiner Bock is still brewed in that same little town, population 2,000, of Shiner, Texas. Got the same location, the same lineage, allegedly even the same artesian well, and the same unmistakable ram gracing the label. Quick aside, if you enjoy this content, I do know that 70% of the people watching are not subscribers to the channel. If you're a subscriber to the channel, that's a huge help to making sure you guys see future content and can support it. So please, if you don't mind, hit that subscribe button. So now, more than a century after its original creation, Shiner Bock remains the beating heart of Texas. It made it through Prohibition, the Great War, outlasted all sorts of big beer takeovers, and somehow it's kept its small town soul intact while reaching all 50 states. So the question I'm here to answer is, does that legend, all that history, live up to a taste that's resilient and as good as it sounds? Here's where we find out. Fire up the keyboards. I know you guys have your own stories about Shiner Bock in the past. I have to tell you, we've done all sorts of tastings from across the country, Hams, Grain Belt, you name it. Most of those beers are macro lagers. They have a lot of same-ish qualities to them. This beer is a Bock, which is substantially different from the typical American light lager. So if that's any indication, along with its small town roots, I think we're in for a treat today. So this is Shiner Bock. Michael, in what condition did we get this beer? Where did we buy it?
Yankee Spirits, warm.
Yankee Spirits, purchased warm. As I so often do on the channel, I'll try to give you guys the condition of the beer in terms of what it says to us on the label. I don't see a best by date, and I don't see a package on date. So again, the condition of this beer, we're in Massachusetts. It came to us from Shiner, Texas. I don't have information about its condition. I just know that it was warm, but I do not know how old it is. So my tasting could be influenced given the condition of this beer. Label, beautiful. I appreciate when a brewery takes the time to make a really nice cap. You know, a good cap combination is usually a solid thing, and this looks really, really cool. I like the yellow and red. It looks really, really strong and appealing. So really nice on the label. Into the glass, holy cow, that looks super appetizing. Dense, rocky foam head that looks like it's going to persist. Beautiful filtered appearance, clear, 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 but a deep ruby amber color, which again is like nothing we've tried on the channel in relation to these macro kind of mass distributed beers that honor a time and a place like Shiner, Texas. So one more thing I wanted to mention is the alcohol content. I did notice before we shot the video, it's 4.4% alcohol, which for a Bock is actually pretty low alcohol. So typical German examples of a Bock are closer to 5, 6, 7, sometimes even 8%. So this is a lighter example of that. A lot of words, time to taste. Oh yeah, rich on the nose. Malty, caramel, clean fermentation character. Yeah, a little bit of like brown bread, which is a descriptor I love. Clean, clean, clean. No appliness, no fruitiness on that fermentation. Just clean malt, clean hops. Oh yeah. Yeah, that's nice. So I get a little bit of like oxidative character, which isn't a huge deal. This beer was warm at the package store. I feel like I almost have to go to Texas to get this fresh, because if I do, I know it's going to be so good. Would you guys welcome us in Texas? Can we come down, please?
I will see you there. All right.
Rich malty, you have caramel, a little bit of earthy hops, a fair amount of bitterness on the finish, which is pretty pleasant. But I have to tell you, for a mass market beer that sort of defines a state and a region, Shiner Bock is very, very high on the list of some of the best that I've had yet on the channel. It's good, it's rich. I want it to be a little bit fresher, but I can taste the bones of that beer, and it's super clean, super clean fermentation, rich and malty, especially good right now in New England. It's crisp outside, cool 50-degree, low humidity days. I'm not sure this is a beer I'd want to have on a hot Texas day, but on a cool New England day, this is absolutely hitting the spot. Another thing I want to comment on is that the body and texture of this beer far exceeds the body and texture of a typical American macro lager. So we've tried like Rainier, Grain Belt, you know, Genesee. Genesee is actually kind of different, but that kind of macro regional lager is very, very different from this beer. This beer has rich texture, really creamy carbonation, and it's kind of playing a different game than a lot of other regional beers that we've tried on the channel, and it's doing a really, really nice job of it. If you guys enjoy this content, liking the video is a huge help, as is leaving your comments down below. We have Lone Star lined up for a future video, and that will answer the question of what is the actual beer of Texas? Is it Shiner Bock? Is it Lone Star? I'm not sure. We're going to find out in a future video. I want to thank you guys for watching. As always, we'll see you next time. Take care.